Hi everyone, Elisa here from Llama Unravel Crochet. Today I'm here for a quick book review, and this book review is on the book Crochet or Everyday Which Way Crochet Borders. So it says there's 139 different border ideas. So I recently made a baby blanket using the waffle V-stitch, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy figuring out what border to put on that, because your typical waffle blanket, it's a little bit stretchy because it does, when you do the front post stitches, it kind of pushes it together. So if you did like a regular single crochet border before you put whatever fancy stitches on there, it bubbles out a little bit because of how the stitches are with the front post stitches. Kind of bring it inward more and shorter. So it turns out the waffle V-stitch makes it even harder to put that single crochet border around before you put your other fancy stitches or fancy border around. So I had to figure out what kind of border to put on, and I wanted something like loopy almost. And let me show you that blanket. So some of you remember that I was working on this, and what I ended up doing was putting these little, just little shell stitches on there. Just something simple that kind of fit with the pattern, because without this border on, the way the stitch was, it was kind of loopy. When you coming to say hi? Coming to say hi? Say hi. And okay, so he was in trouble this morning. He decided to sit on my husband's desk. So my husband has his mouse, and then he has his computer on one side, and then he uses the TV too to work. And he sat right in the middle, and my husband had to kind of reach over him to touch the mouse and over him to touch the keyboard on the computer. So he was having a field day, just sitting there hanging out. My husband's all awkward trying to work over the cat. That's okay. So for this border, it needed to be a certain amount of stitches. So what the issue I found was the way this V-stitch is, it kind of, let me show you the top. So the way the V-stitch is, it kind of puffs out. So if I did a single crochet for every stitch, each one, it was 4 double crochets and a chain in there. So that will be 5 single crochets, because this stitch, you do like a front post stitches on the ends of your V-stitch. So in the center of these little puffed out V-stitches, you do a V-stitch. So my next string or my next row will be front post double crochet, V-stitch in this center, and then front post double crochet over here. And so it kind of loops. So by doing a single crochet in each of those stitches, it just puffed it out too much. And even though like you're kind of pulling the stitches in when you do the shell stitch, because you're skipping stitches, but it just didn't work out because it single crochet without any fancy stitches. You're just hanging out with me now. So single crochet without any of the fancy stitches, it would be a lot wider than this. So you're attacking the strings because I haven't sewn them in yet. That's why you're here. So what I had to do was figure out how many stitches I needed of single crochet on all sides in order to make the border sit straight and not curve. And I had to figure out, because there was 5 double crochet in each shell stitch, and then you skip 2, single crochet, skip 2, do your next shell stitch. So I had to figure out exactly how many stitches I need on the top and the sides and the bottom in order to make sure when I did the shell stitches, it worked out evenly. Now, normally, especially with this blanket, how I figure out how many stitches I need, I draw it out. So for like a V-stitch, this one had, I think it was 3 chains and then the V-stitch. When you started this, I think it was, yeah, it was chain 3 and then use 2 stitches to make the V-stitch, and then chain 3, 2 stitches for the V-stitch. So I drew that out, and so I used my gauge swatch to figure out how many of these V-stitches I would need, and then I drew it out so I could see it, and that helped me figure out how many chains I need. So I drew little circles for the chains, and then the lines with the bars through them for the double crochets. And it just makes sense. I'm a visual person. So I drew that out and figured out how to do it. So I would have tried to do the same thing and do the math if I didn't have this book, but this book does something very cool. So this book it shows you the single crochets, and it also tells you how many multiples you need. So for the shell border, it was multiples of 6 plus 3 on every side. And then not only that, but if you do that math, the 6 stitches plus the 3 doesn't equal out to the shell stitches being even. So you'd have to do, after you do your single crochet, before you do your shell stitch in the corner, you skip 1 stitch instead of 2. So it shows you that here, and it shows you how to do all of that, how it makes sense that you have multiples of 6 plus a 3. And not only does it show you that, but it shows you a little symbol. I don't know if you can see that. That's not focused. Hold on. So it shows you a little symbol too, where to start in the beginning of the row. So you're starting, and at the corner you end up in the right spot. So I was very excited about that, because I had to do the math to figure out based on my single crochet around to make it lay flat. But once I knew the number I needed, all I had to do was look at this to know where to start, and then I just followed the shell pattern all the way around, and that's what helped me figure out how to do the border with it laying flat. And it only took me a day. It didn't, sometimes it just doesn't quite work out and you miss a stitch or something like that, and you have to go back and pull it out and try again. But I didn't need to do that because this book is great. It completely lays everything out for you. So not only does it show you how to do borders, but it's got this cool stuff in the beginning. So there's different design concepts. So complementary versus contrast. Let's see. Okay. So mechanics on how to make your border. Choosing base colors for rounds. Tells you about working borders into fabric. So if you're making one of those blankets where you buy the fabric and then you're crocheting a border around it, it tells you how to do that too, not just crocheting a border on your crochet project. Oh, I think it even has instructions on how to crochet a border on a knit project. Troubleshooting fabric flatness. Now that is just great. That's often a problem with crocheting borders. Troubleshooting fabric flatness. Tells you how to handle the corners on a base round. Okay, stitch multiples and why they matter. It explains that. So I'm very math-minded. I think of everything in numbers. I try to analyze how many yards I need for things, how many stitches will come out based on how many chains I have, things like that. So that's something that just clicks in my head, but it doesn't with a lot of people. And they lay that out very nicely to help you with that. Tells you where to begin the round, talks about that. It even talks about fudging stitch counts, which is fantastic because I've seen that question too from other people. They don't know what to do because if you're doing different stitches on a border, so you're doing single crochet around, then maybe you're doing double crochet, chain one, double crochet around, so you can put something in those holes, things like that. Well, your different stitches, the number counts aren't always going to line up, and some people don't know what to do to fix that. So that's great that they help you with that. So it's talking about tapestry needle join or invisible join. That's very helpful and nice technique. And then there's border designs, and I believe it was 139 I said in the beginning. So it has stitch key, so even if you just need it to reference these symbols, that's a great reference, and then you have it for when you're ready to put a border on. So there's all kinds of great purposes for this book. It talks about reading crochet patterns. So here it talks about attributes of all your borders. So you just go down, and some of them have the reversible, some of them are wider. It talks about motifs, lacy borders. It has all kinds of interesting things that you can look at, and okay, this border has this quality, this quality, and this quality. That's what I want, and then you go find it. And then this is just a directory. It has a quick overall image, so you can just glance at the whole thing and see what stands out to you for what you need. So it has a glossary with some information about stitches. So that's helpful. So if you don't know the stitches, it's not like you have to search the internet. I think that, yep. Okay, that looks like that's everything, but I am so excited that I bought this book. This is going to be so helpful in so many ways. And actually, I was watching something with Tony from TLY Crafts, and that's why I bought it, because I saw she had it, she recommended it, and I'm so glad I did. There's so many helpful things, and I already came in use with my baby blanket. Yep, that's the right side. I can't wait to use it again. I am very excited to use it for my next project. I don't always put borders on a lot of my projects, but I've been doing a lot of color work, and that takes away from it. But I'm gonna have to start making some plainer blankets so I can use that book some more and put some borders on there. So let me just go over the book one more time, and I'll put the name of it down below. It's Everyday Which Way Crochet Borders, 139 Patterns for Customized Edging by Edie Ekman, by the same author of Beyond the Square Crochet Motifs. I might have to check that book out too. Okay, so if you're a new crocheter, advanced crocheter, I recommend this book for anybody because it's got great resources. It has things that you might not know, and even if you're an advanced crocheter, sometimes when I read these books, I see things that I just didn't think of before. So go ahead and check it out. And if you buy this book or you have this book, comment down below and let me know what you think of it. Okay, have a great day.